Bulavinaka, Fiji, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind. I'm Louise Kaunisela. The National Domestic Violence Helpline 1560 received, as Edwin just said on FBC News, 527 genuine calls. This is only for last month, compared to 87 in February and 187 calls in March. 50% of the calls are domestic violence related and 30% linked to COVID-19's restriction of movement and economic strains on families. The Minister of Women, Mereseni Vuniwanga, says gender-based violence is a serious concern. Reports of domestic violence has spiked. A 28-year-old woman just lost her life over the weekend after her husband knifed her after a heated argument. To talk about the church's response to violence in the home during this time, my guests are from the Fiji Council of Churches. This is Manasa Vatanitawake, and the Anglican Diocese of Polynesia, the House of Sarah Ministry, which is who is Reverend Mereti Rambonu. A warm welcome to the both of you to Speak Your Mind.
Good afternoon.
Yes, and I know that was a long introduction, but anyhow, a warm welcome to the show. But before we discuss the issue of domestic violence, can you please tell us a little about, maybe we'll start with my friend here, Manasa, the Fiji Council of Churches and the kind of work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Louise. First of all, we just wanted to say thank you so very much for having us here on Speak Your Mind. Thank you so very much for the opportunity. You know, for the last couple of weeks and even months, we've seen a good number of, this particular show having guests from the different ministries and institutions and even civil societies coming in to talk about gender-based violence, violence against women, and even children and young boys. And we thought, why don't we come in as the Fiji Council of Churches and the member churches to also share with the general public the good work that our churches are doing in regard to this particular issue, the issue around violence in the homes. So as you alluded to earlier, the Fiji Council of Churches, just a little bit of history, started back in 1963 officially, where churches here in Fiji came together and put together a pathway in which they can work together ecumenically or interdenominationally, and then say, together, you know, even in our own churches, we can do a lot of work, but together as a team, one team, we will be able to achieve greater things. So since then, we have done a lot of work. The Fiji Council of Churches have done a lot of work around social justice issues in connections with the work with the Pacific Conference of Churches that started a few years earlier. And we look at issues such as nuclear-free Pacific, the work around economic empowerment of our people in the churches, in the community, the work around youth empowerment, the work around women participation in decision-making, the political participation, and the willingness of our people to be involved in the decision-making of our nation. That is very important. But most importantly is to look at the needs of our people in our churches spiritually. That's the most important work that we have to look into collectively as a member of the Fiji Council of Churches, the spiritual need of our people. And, of course, apart from that, to see everyday life, that they are taken care of, that they are well looked after, economically, socially, through justice, and in many other forms. So that's from the Fiji Council of Churches.
Excellent. A great explanation indeed. Thank you for the good work, Manasa, and also to the church. Reverend Rambonu, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? And can you also explain what the House of Sarah Ministry is and the work that it does? Am I saying Sarah right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Yes, please.
I'm Reverend Mereti Rambonu. I'm married with 4 children and with 6 grandchildren now.
Oh, lovely.
So I was ordained in 2012 in the Anglican Church. And I've joined House of Sarah from 2019. But before that, I was a member of the Association of Anglican Women which is part of the House of Sarah, and I've been part of this House of Sarah all along.
Okay, so like for the Anglican Church, I mean, a woman being a reverend, when did that first begin? Like I know that we don't usually see a reverend as a woman, but I'm really pleased. I think why not, Yeah.
Well, the first Fijian woman, Itauke woman, to be ordained in the Anglican Church was the Reverend Sere Maloma,
Okay.
who initiated the House of Sarah in 2009.
Okay, so that's in 2009. So it's relatively new then.
Yeah.
Okay, for Itauke woman. How do you feel about your role as a reverend?
It's challenging being a female in a space dominated mainly by male.
Right.
But since it is God's call to our lives, I've been enjoying as a female in the church.
Well, that's very good. So what do you normally do, just as a reverend does? You do some, preaching, lifting the spirits of your congregation.
I'm an assistant priest in the St. Mark's Parish of Newtown.
Okay.
And I do work full-time at the House of Sarah as a Ndauvevuke support officer. And I'll talk more about that later.
Ndauvevuke, that means help, right? Okay. All right, so let's move on. The Fiji Women's Crisis Center coordinator, Shamima Ali, said women are experiencing physical, emotional, and psychological violence. Some are calling in with serious injuries. I'm talking about, the current situation. There is marital rape, and they're seeing increased violence in an already violent home atmosphere. Now, the church wants to share the importance of love, care, and justice during this time of need. Could you please give us an example of how this can be achieved amidst the chaos?
Actually, the House of Sarah, it was church's response, the Anglican Church's response to the elimination of violence against women when it was set up in 2009.
Okay. So that was your main goal?
Yes, the elimination of violence against women and children and young girls.
Okay, so what prompted you to do this in 2012? How was the church prompted to make this like the top of their agenda? Well, obviously, probably because of the news and all that, eh?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have to come back for that on Speak Your Mind. This is Gold FM, only the classic hits, your only classic hit station in the country. Thank you for your good company. We're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kaunisela. As you can see, our guest in the studio from the Fiji Council of Churches, Manasa, and we also have from the House of Sarah, Reverend Mary, right. That'll be good. Thank you. But anyhow, like we were speaking just before the break on how your church had come up with that wonderful observation. Is it Break the Silence Sunday? In what has been described as your most visible effort to halt the epidemic of violence against women in Pacific Island nation. So has there been a change since this seen in this effort put in by church leaders when it first began?
Yes, for the Break the Silence Sunday, this was started in 2016 during a meeting in the Fiji Council of Churches.
Oh, I see.
They've agreed to all observe Break the Silence Sunday. And this falls on the 16 Days of Activism, which is from the 25th of November to the 10th of December.
Yes.
So for all member churches to the FCC, they can observe Break the Silence Sunday within any Sunday, within the 16 Days of Activism.
I see.
And the House of Sarah prepares the liturgical resources or the materials that can be used for this special Sunday.
Okay. So it's like a video, right? And you have all the different priests from different religions, is that right?
We had a promotion that was running for a number of years.
Yes, I saw it come out on TV as well, and I thought it looked really good.
By the Fiji Council of Churches, of course, with with the help of House of Sarah,
Pacific Council of Churches,
the Pacific Council of Churches, and as well the UN Women. They were very supportive of this particular project. But we would like to pay tribute to the work that the churches had done in previous years. So this was first discussed at a regional level by the Pacific Conference of Churches General Assembly in 2013 in Honiara in the Solomon Islands. And one of the outcome statement of that particular General Assembly is that we need to strengthen the work of the churches at the national level, which, I come from the National Council of Churches, and our member churches within each country. But we have to pay tribute to the work of the churches that have been done earlier that brought this issue up to the regional level. And now it's going back to the national level, and each individual member churches that we need to work. And you've asked a question earlier about how committed we are. We are very committed. At the Fiji Council of Churches, we just had our leaders retreat around the same week when we were told by the government to go on lockdown for the COVID-19 first case.
Right.
And then the church leaders were talking about the importance of them being reminded again and again that they need to talk about violence in any form, gender-based violence, violence against children, from the pulpit. That is important, that on Sunday they should be able to talk about this openly with their congregations. The Reverend Mereti was talking about the 16 Days of Activism, but that is centered around that time of the year. But how can we talk about this from January to December and fall on to the next year and be able to talk about it now and again? Because, on FBC News, on television and on radio, we just heard the reports of violence in the homes for the last couple of days. And that is really worrying. And the question is, what is the churches doing, even though there are no services at this time, but our church leaders should be able to talk about the issue when they're having this video. Many of the preachers are doing videos from home and reaching out to the congregations. And it's also important to talk about care, love, justice, the care for one another in that homes during this lockdown period. So that is something that we've been going back and forth on, discussing for the last couple of weeks.
Yes, and Reverend, what has been your observation as a church leader of the situation that, women are getting abused? But what about men? They might be getting abused as well. Who knows? Could be both ways, you never know.
It's important to know that there are services provided.
Okay.
Like for the House of Sarah, we have Sarah carers who are trained, who are out there in the different parishes. They are volunteer workers, but they are trained to be out there, like they are first responders out there in the communities where people can go to. They are there to offer a listening ear. Just a warm heart, a helping hand. And they refer the cases from there in the parishes to the House of Sarah, or they can refer to the other service providers who are also there.
Okay, so even within your church, have you had many people approach you saying that this is happening in our home, your members?
Yes, we do.
Have you had any reports that it's already surfacing now?
They do call us for the difficult situations that they are going through. And we do offer counseling also. Like we have the Ndau Vevuke Ecumenical Network. This is a group of women from different denominations, Christian denominations. They come in together and we offer counseling services. So for those who are listening out there, if you're going through difficulties,
like you're feeling sad,
or you just need a hug.
You need someone to talk to.
Yes.
But it has to be, remember, not a hug.
Oh, okay, yes.
It has to be, just the warmth of the love. I know we are living in such different times, but good news though, we only have 4 cases of COVID-19. Hopefully that we can get back to the hugs real quickly.
That's right.
I miss the hugs.
Just very quickly, from before, we talked a little bit about the Fiji Council of Churches. Here in Fiji, we have 10 member churches. So the Anglican Diocese of Polynesia is one of the member church of FCC.
Right.
And then we will have friends coming in to the next segment of this show from the Salvation Army, and they're also a member of the Fiji Council of Churches.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
As Reverend Mereti was saying, that in a community, well, let's just use this as an example. If you're a Methodist and you're living in a community where the Anglicans are providing this service, you can go.
Okay, so it's open to any Christian denomination.
That's right.
Right.
Or even if you're from the Assemblies of God or from any other denomination.
Or even if I'm Muslim.
Yes, of course. You can come to, if there's an Anglican parish in there, somebody, a minister that has been trained to do this counseling, this is where you can go. Or if you're a Catholic, a Reverend, you wanted
For
to...
the Ndauvehuke Ecumenical Network, like I said, it's a network of Christian denominations of women, Christian women. So we have Catholic women, we have women from the Assemblies of God, we have the Salvation Army, women from the Catholic Church, from the Baptist Church, from the Seventh-day Adventists. So
they're all in that.
They are all in this group.
That's really encouraging to know. There's no differences. We're all under one big sky. So I don't see why. But unfortunately, we'll need to have a chat with the Salvation Army. Yeah. But I'll see you soon.
Yes.
On Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Do stay with us if you can. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kaunisela, and I thank you for your good company. Hope you're enjoying the show. And now I have from the House Ministry of the Salvation Army, Captain Varer Rika and also Captain Rochelle Moffat. And this is really good to have you on the show. I know that I'm just wondering the captain bits there, but anyway, you can explain to me later.
Sure.
But it's good to have you on this show, and maybe we'll just go into a little bit of history of the Salvation Army. I mean, everyone knows about the Salvation Army, but not exactly everything.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, firstly, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here. It's a great privilege. The Salvation Army is fundamentally an evangelical Christian church. So it was co-founded by a husband and wife team, William and Catherine Booth, in the East End of London in 1865.
That's a long time
ago. A long time ago. It's currently serving around the world in about 131 different countries around the world at the moment.
Yes.
And it was founded because William and Catherine Booth were really moved by the social circumstances of the people in the East End of London. So from its very inception, the Salvation Army has been a faith-based community that takes what we know and understand about the Christian Bible and what God calls us to do, and then works that out in a really practical way.
Yes.
So that's kind of where we come from. The terminology and the uniforms and the...
I love the uniforms. I always have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so it stems from the place that William and Catherine Booth really felt called to fight the war against spiritual oppression. And so we are fighting a spiritual war.
Right now, even.
And exactly. And so the terminology and the concept of it being an army, our magazine that we put out around the world is called The War Cry. Because our terminology is based on kind of military type, to tie in with that idea that we believe we're fighting a war. Not a physical war, but a one against...
Spiritual,
spiritual
war. I mean, I suppose, like you said of the Bible, we have the second commandment in the Old Testament, which says that you're to love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Absolutely.
But, I know that the Salvation Army, you're doing that.
Yeah.
And I suppose in the time that these two who first founded the Salvation Army, that was a time of depression as well, wasn't it? People were really struggling and suffering then. There was no care for the poor.
Really.
And they were just left to die, I suppose.
Absolutely. And a lot of the same struggles that we are still seeing in society today. Abuse of alcohol, domestic violence, all those things, unemployment.
Yeah.
So
it's just an ongoing service that will never end. Even sometimes, obviously, you need help yourself. I mean, you're helping so many people, but even I'm sure that you'd need help yourself.
Absolutely.
So maybe we have our friend Captain... Varia, yes, to tell us about yourself. When did you join the Salvation Army? And how did you become interested in working for the Salvation Army?
Okay. I grew up in the Salvation Army, and I became an officer in 1911.
So you grew up in the Salvation Army?
Yes. My parents were in the Salvation Army,
Oh.
and they were officers. And so that made me want to be like them. So they have the legacy of being in the Army. So, so I wanted to be like them and helping out in the church.
Okay.
That's right.
That's really good because, I mean, they must have set such a wonderful example to you that you actually even wanted to serve people as well.
Yes.
Because it's all about serving. I mean, it's not an easy thing to serve people.
Yes.
Not easy at
No,
all.
it's a
I
privilege,
Yes.
though. It's a privilege.
privilege.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a privilege to someone who feels, that it's a
Yes,
privilege.
yes.
But, I mean, if you're a spiritual person and you
Yes.
believe that, helping
Yes.
the poor, it'll give you that satisfaction,
Yes.
doesn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, what would you like to talk about right now? How we have the economic impact of COVID-19 felt in Fiji. I know I had FBC News covered it, that Salvation Army was serving 1,000 meals per week.
Right. Yeah. So we, I think the Salvation Army, we're a small denomination
Yeah.
in Fiji.
Okay.
But we're widespread. We have the advantage of being all throughout the island. So there are 14 core, which is the name we give for like our church, a faith-based community. So there's 14 of those, and they're spread all around the nation. And we have 2 outposts, which are smaller communities connected to a core. And so we immediately have people all over the place who are already working in their communities. Each one of those core are run by officers.
Yes. So you're called
who are
officers
trained
like an
officers.
army.
So an
Yeah.
officer is
Yeah.
an ordained minister.
Minister.
So we do 2 years of
Yes.
residential training,
Yes.
and then we
So,
are ordained as
You're not
ministers.
officers, are you? You are?
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
so in the
we are.
So
Salvation
both
Army,
of you are ordained as well?
Yeah.
so
Yes.
if you see someone with the red
Wow.
epaulets,
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
then they're ordained. And in the Salvation Army, male and female train the same and are ordained the same. So we from our inception have worked towards. We're not there. We're a long way from being there, but we have always strived after equality between men and women.
Men and women.
Wow.
We work side by side. We're all called to serve the same God. So
That's right.
officers,
Okay.
and each one of the core, the 16 core, have officers that are appointed to work in those communities.
Okay.
So in situations like this, we're already spread out all over the place
right. And
with
you
officers. Who
and
are,
you work with other stakeholders as well.
absolutely.
Yes, we
So
do.
you might like to mention which ones do we work with?
Okay. We work with other stakeholders a lot, in terms of counseling. We work with Empower Pacific.
Oh, okay.
Medical
so that's for counseling,
service,
right?
yes.
So you connect with Empower Pacific to help people who might call you facing issues with depression or
Yes.
whatever they're facing. Hey,
Yes.
but we'll come back soon on Speak Your Mind. This is on Gold FM, only the classic hits, the only classic hit station in the country. Be sure to tune in. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I hope you're enjoying the show as much as I am, as we have now with us from the House Ministry of the Salvation Army, Captain Valeria Rica and Captain Rochelle Moffat, and they're just telling us what Salvation Army does, and maybe I would like to find out what services do you offer?
Okay. Salvation Army, we have 3 centers. And they are our safe house for women who go through domestic violence.
Oh, wow.
So we have 3 centers around our division. We have one in Lambasa, one in Lotoka, and one here in Suva.
Okay.
So those who wants to come into our centers, and if you're facing abuse, you can self-referral, just come by yourself to our centers. But if not, we have the other agencies who also do referrals on their behalf. So we have Empower Pacific, Fiji Women's Crisis Center, and we have Medical Service Pacific, who does the referral when they bring in the survivors of domestic violence. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for like now, like there's been reports there's been a spike in domestic violence because of COVID-19, affair impacting lives.
Yes.
Have you noticed it at the Salvation Army? A lot more calls for help as well?
Not really.
Okay.
But we've I want to say that we've got a lot of calls, but there have been a lot of women self-referral coming on their own to our centers, looking for a safe place because of the abuse from home.
I think as we're ready, because we're anticipating that in the months to come, this ongoing challenge will become more. We're expecting. Unfortunately, it's sad to say that, but we are expecting that there will be a rise. As yet, the family care centres, I think, haven't noticed an increase in numbers and actually, people actually staying in our centres.
Right.
But there has been a lot of people who are women who are in their communities who are approaching our Salvation Army core. So those faith communities, the churches that are in their communities, who are coming forward saying, look, we need food, or can we get some kind of support in our family environments? Or just looking, I think you mentioned earlier, looking for someone to just talk with or share with or find support from. So at a local level, we're finding an increase.
Yeah. Some of these mothers and children, they don't need our safe shelters, but they come to our cores, our churches, to ask for food parcels, and maybe sometimes they do ask us to pay for their bills and stuff like that. So our churches do assist them with that.
But you obviously have to do a bit of a background
research.
We have a very small community welfare budget. And so what we really encourage is the development of relationship. Because often we find that if you have strong relationships, healthy relationships, then you stand a bit taller if you feel supported. And so we encourage people to build relationships with our core officers, with their neighbour, to find support systems where they are.
Yes.
And so often we find that people already hold their own answers. They just need the encouragement and the tools to be able to find those answers for themselves. They're empowered to find those answers for themselves.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
we have women's groups that are locally held in each core, Salvation Army home-led groups, that are all about connecting and empowering women.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's a regular thing.
That's a regular thing.
Yes.
So any woman can come along and say, look, I need help. I'm not in a good state of mind. My life, I feel my life is like this, the end of the road. Salvation Army has something for that person.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. We serve, one of our catchphrases is, we serve without discrimination.
Okay.
If you need someone, we're there for you.
We're there.
So if someone is listening in right now, might be going through something like that and has nobody to talk to, what number, what contact would they be able to get in touch with you so you can at least give them some good advice? Or
Right. So there's probably two options for that. One is all our individual core church communities are listed in the phone book.
Okay.
So we would suggest grab a phone book and find your local Salvation Army core or church and just phone them as a starting point. If it's a really, if they've found themselves in a really bad situation where there's domestic violence happening and they really need a safe place, our family care centres are available. The easiest way to do that probably is to ring our divisional headquarters, which is based here in Suva.
Okay.
And then from there we can advise
Yes,
where the
because-
next step is.
Yeah, because you're ordained and you're trained, you give probably people hope when they come and see you.
And there's a great team of staff as well who, are employees of the Salvation Army who we couldn't do it without.
Okay. I know the one in Rewanga, though, because we normally pass by that one. Where Rewanga is, there's a little center there.
Yes.
It's been there like forever.
Yes.
So
it's quite an old building too.
2023, we'll be celebrating 50 years of the Salvation Army in Fiji.
Oh, 50 years.
50 years.
Man.
Year after next. So
Well, we're fortunate to have you guys in the country. Yes, I mean, who else is going to be there for someone who feels that they have nowhere to turn to? And maybe you would like to share something else that you would like the public to know about the Salvation Army.
Oh gosh. Do you know, I think there are a couple of key areas that the Salvation Army are one of many agencies and movements who are identifying. There's a rise in the use and abuse of drugs and alcohol. And historically, right from our inception, working in rehabilitation for those substances is something the Salvation Army has a history in. And we are exploring how to do that here in this environment, in Fiji.
Because before it wasn't as bad, even like 20 years ago, compared to now, there's a huge jump in drug abuse, yes?
Yeah,
so that's interesting
we're
that you brought that up.
Currently in conversations around that, and we find that in many ways that can it's related to domestic violence. And because so often it starts with an individual who's abusing or using drugs or alcohol, and that impacts their families, and that impacts the family units, which then impacts society, and so it kind of ripples out.
Yeah, it's a trickling effect, all right, yes.
So it's a big conversation, isn't it, about how we, as combined groups of churches, can speak into that issue. The other thing that's really on kind of a hot topic of conversation for the Salvation Army at the moment is work with street children, particularly boys.
Okay.
And again, I think some of this is connected to the use and abuse of drugs and alcohol, because the family units break down. Not always, but often the family unit breaks down and these boys find themselves without a safe place to be.
So you've been helping these street children?
Yeah, so
I shouldn't call them street children. I mean, they have something that's affected them. That's why they're like that. I mean, they're not like that for nothing, are they? But unfortunately, I know this is really short, but thank you so much for coming on Speak Your Mind today.
Thank you for having us.
And I look forward maybe to calling you again. We can go have a more in-depth talk, maybe for the whole hour on Speak Your Mind.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you very much from the House Ministry of the Salvation Army, Captain Varerika and Captain Rochelle Mufford. Vinaka Vakalelu.
Vinaka.
Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kauni-Sella, and we have back in the studio with us Reverend Rambonu, and she is from, of course, the Anglican Church, and also from the Fiji Council of Churches, Manasa. Right, so we are on our last segment now, so maybe we'll just go over on how the church is looking at helping our people.
Yep. Reverend, you want to...
For the Sarakeras, the first responders who are out there in our community, we have them in Vonolevu, in Naviavia, we have them in Lambasa, we have them in Savu, and we have them in Singatoka, in Levuka, in Navua, we have them in Waindandra. For the Suva area, there are churches like in Wailoku, in Newtown, the St. Matthew's in Nambua, and for the Holy Trinity Cathedral. So for those out there who need a listening ear, someone to talk to, or you need prayers, the Sarakeras are out there in those communities for you.
So you can find some peace of mind, peace of heart.
Right.
Yes? Because do you think that people are getting frustrated because they're not praying enough, maybe? You know?
Yes. And as mentioned by Reverend Mereti, that the community of faith is out there to serve anyone, whether you're of the faith or not. We are here to care for one another, and I think that is the important thing to note, that Jesus Christ, who God Himself, who came in a form of man, and that is what we profess. Or what we believe in is that the cares is for everybody, for the children, for the women, for the elderly, for people with disabilities.
And even the sinners.
That's right, everybody. And then there's conversations around our friends from the LGBTIQ community.
Yes.
The service for the Fiji Council of Churches and its member churches is to reach out to all the people that are out there who needed the support.
See, that's really interesting that you just said that, because that was going to be one of my questions as well. What is your stance on homosexuality in the church? Because there are instances of parents disowning and denouncing their children based on their sexuality. So, I mean, if you can come from, your point of view of, accepting everybody as the same.
Yes.
So what would you say about that?
There's different theological reflections on this issue, but what we are driving now is at the importance of care first. Let's not look at what they prefer in terms of sexual orientation. What we need to offer now is the care and the love that they need.
Yes.
And such a time as this, the COVID-19, and now with the recent past tropical cyclone, everybody needs a care and a love. And as well, Reverend Meriti shared a little bit earlier about the network of women out there. From the Catholic Church, we have the Women at the Well. And go to any parish and then find out from those people whether they're ordained or lay. I'm a lay person.
Yes.
Reverend Merit is an ordained. And we are a network of people, both from laity and the ordained, working together to support the needs of our people. So it's very important for them to know and then go to these parishes, whether they're Methodist, a Seventh-day Adventist, reach out to them and find out what are the services that are provided. And we are truly grateful that the Salvation Army was able to share with you the wonderful, excellent services that they provide.
True. Yeah, Reverend?
Yep.
Yes, like for what Manaza was discussing earlier, God loves everyone. It's everyone. We are all included, irrespective of your gender, your race, your religion.
Yes.
God loves everyone. And that's something for all of us to understand, to grasp that God loves you. That's very important in these difficult times that we are going through.
Okay. So that's a great piece of advice.
Yes.
Don't lose hope.
Yeah.
Be strong.
Be strong.
You have
Look
to be
out
strong.
for one another.
Look out for one another. Very important. Yes.
Yeah, so it's very important that we the messages has been loud and clear. Fiji Broadcasting through its short promotional messages that it's important that we work together as a community, whether it's a community of faith or a community of sports people or a community of singers. It's important that we work together and care for one another. And if you see somebody is struggling with their marital, within that circle, find out if they need help, and then provide that support where you can.
Yes.
You can take them. Not all of us are qualified counselors. You can direct them to where those services are provided.
Okay, so on that note, what is the service that you provide? In other words, what services are available at this time that women and young ladies, girls and boys can access?
We do have our Dawivuki Ecumenical, which offers counseling services.
Right.
And we have our Sarah carers, who are first responders out there. Even if you need prayers, you can call us.
Okay. Okay, I need to ask you this as well. The church and culture have often been criticized for working together to keep women submissive. Now, I need Reverend to tell me what, and they say that Christian beliefs may promote abusive relationships. Now, I'm talking with you. I don't see anything of that for sure, but you can defend yourself. What can you say about this statement? I mean, well, for the Anglican Church anyway.
What we believe as Christians, that God loves us all, and God creates us all as equal. In the eyes of God, we are all equal.
Right.
So no one is to submit to another person because we are all equal.
Yes.
And just being a Christian,
So
being
true.
a believer, you need to share this love, that you are equal to the other person, even if he or she belongs to another faith.
Yeah. That's so true.
Because every person is created by God. Then all we have to do is, in response to God's creations, we love everyone because we are all God's creations. So we are all equal in the eyes of God.
Yes. So, there we are.
There you go.
That's a great answer. Too good. You hit the
Coming-
nail on the head for sure, Reverend.
Coming from
Yeah.
Reverend, I'm really happy. But
Yes.
from us, from a point of view, from the Fiji Council of Churches at the Secretariat, just to bring that home, is that we look at the individuals and their need, and you just have to make sure that you respond to that properly, and see that the need is met, and that's why we've been driving the message of love and care for one another, just community, justice for all, and that I think that's one of the most important thing that we've been talking about, even with our church leaders, and we might have different interpretations.
Yes.
Different denominations might have different interpretation,
That's
but the
true.
Bible is
Right.
very clear that we must love one another as Christ loved us,
Yeah.
and we must love our neighbor just as we love ourselves. So that's
a
I
very
think-
strong message.
Yes.
Very strong.
I think that's the core of the message of the Bible,
Yeah.
is that we must love God and love others.
So obviously, if we do that, I mean, everyone wouldn't have to worry so much, and we would all
that's right.
be, surviving well.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that Facebook page, the butter one.
Yes,
I mean,
that is
that's
just-
without cash,
Yeah.
cashless.
And
People.
it has
right.
to start from home.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I
Yes.
think what we
Reverend.
are promoting is a safe home,
Yes.
safe church, and a safe community.
Okay, Reverend, just before we finish, because we've actually come to the end of the program, now, what would you like to tell maybe an estranged couple right now, at home? They can't, they keep fighting, and they can't seem to, just, come to a solution. What is your message to maybe couples who are going through this because of whatever reason?
If you're going through any difficult situation, there is help out there. And all you have to do is ask or seek help in these difficult times. You need prayers. You can call us.
Okay.
And my phone number is 918-7588. And you can go through the website for the House of Sarah.
Okay, right.
There we have the list of Ndauvevuke Ecumenical Network. Those from the women from other Christian churches. You can have their contacts there. Their numbers in the web page for the House of Sarah.
Thank you.
So remember, there is help out there. There's someone out there for you.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
Never ever think you're alone.
Never ever think that you are alone.
Yes.
The church is out there. Even for the women of the other faiths who are there.
Yes.
The Christian churches, the Christian women are also here for you.
Beautiful. Vinaka, Reverend. And Manasa, maybe some last words from you on
Oh, yes,
how
no.
you want to tell couples, don't fight, love one another. Never mind. I mean, obviously there are, reasons for it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
what can you tell them?
I have a little bit of background in communication. So for me, communication is very key. It's very key. They
Oh,
need to
very
talk.
true.
They need
Yes.
to be able to talk to one another, sort things out. It's wonderful. For the last couple of weeks, we've been told to stay home.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a wonderful time just to sit and talk. I shouldn't be saying this, but we've been told not to drink kava. But that would be the best time for a couple, for two people, just to
Yeah,
sit
why not,
and talk about their family, their children, what are the difficult things that they're going through.
Do some
So,
gardening. What about
yeah.
how we do some gardening?
So communicate a lot,
Communicate,
talk
yes.
to one another a lot.
I totally agree
and
with
just,
that
just
one
to
too.
end with that, Louise, thank you so very much to Speak Your Mind for allowing us the time. And FCC is only here to facilitate. I'm happy House of Sarah Anglican Diocese of Polynesia and our friends from the Salvation Army for coming to this show.
Well, thank you. It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you
Manasa
so very
Vinaka
much.
from the Fiji Council of Churches and Reverend Rabonu
Vinaka.
from House of Sarah. Vinaka. On Speak Your Mind, I hope you enjoyed the program. Never give up on love. Never give up on giving up. On Gold FM, Nisamo Demanda.